Welcome to the 12th episode of the Influential Wellnesspreneur podcast. My name is Sebastian Hilbert and I'm the Wellnesspreneur expert. I help wellness business owners to get themselves out there, find their ideal clients who are willing to pay what they're really worth with an effective online presence. Now, today I have a good friend of mine on this week's episode. Her name is Sabine Armbruster, founder of Mothers of Momentum. Hi Sabine, how are you?
Hey, good, thank you, Sebastian. I'm well. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for coming in today. To everyone, as you probably can imagine, running a podcast like that can be very inspiring, and because you meet a lot of really incredible people, and sometimes get a bit daunting because every week you have to get someone on this. And this week was one of those, and I didn't quite know who I would have for this week's episode. And I started thinking about my friends who I'm talking to every week, sometimes even a bit more, especially with Sabine, who, when I was thinking about my friends, was the first one who actually came to mind because she is a lovely soul. She is always extremely engaging. She has an incredible positive attitude and loads of energy. And I was thinking, my friends, I have lots of friends who may not do the dream lifestyle yet, working two days a week, but they have an incredible message to share and they work hard. And that's actually something I think you who are listening today may even relate a bit better than usually. So I thought, let's shoot her a message. And she said instantly, yes, I'm going to come. And it's such an incredible thing to have her here on our episode today. And I want to talk to her today with her about how she create lifestyle businesses for mothers in business and giving them tools and strategies and system to actually get more things done in less time. And Sabine has done that for quite a few people. If you go on her website, mothersofmomentum.com, you can find great success stories and really sees how she understands her audience really well. So to get started for today, Sabine, I know that you noticed your passion for simply helping other people when you were as young as 10 years old. So why don't you take us back there? What happened there? Why are you saying that? And tell us how you got to Mothers of Momentum now.
Well, that's actually an interesting story. But before I start, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was a really nice introduction, so thank you. But going back to when I was 10, it's funny. That's when we came to Brisbane, and I met this old man who I thought was old at the time. Probably wasn't that old, but he took me around to do Meals on Wheels. And we ended up taking afternoon tea to old ladies in the neighbourhood purely because they wanted people to talk to, and they were lonely. So that's when I first realised that I really enjoyed helping people and making people feel happy. So I thought that the career for me would be nursing. So my whole school life was aimed at becoming a nurse. And when I started nursing, I lasted 3 months. I actually realised that I didn't want the blood, I didn't want to see the pain, and I knew that I couldn't help these people, quickly. So anyway, I dropped out of nursing pretty quickly. That was within 3 months. And then I just went on this amazing journey in the way that wasn't exactly easy, but, I went into things like accounting, and I started the fashion design business, and that went to interior design. And I actually even had a cleaning business. I did all these different things. I tried so many different things, but it was always a business of my own. And then I met my partner, and we started a construction company. I studied building design, and that's what we did for the next 25 years. But on the side, I kept learning things. I kept trying new things. And in the end, when I had kids, and this is where my whole journey kind of started for me again, was because I realised that what happened when I was 10 would really shape what I would do for the next however long time. And so I started really talking to other mothers when I had kids, and I did volunteer work for the school. And I realised that mothers actually, a lot of the time, feel like they're a little bit kind of too old to start new things. And I don't believe that at all, you know. But they're in this big dilemma. Do they go back to their corporate job, or do they start something new? And so I wanted to be that person that could help people, you know, decide what they really wanted to do, and then help them start that new thing. And that's where this journey that I'm on now really started. So it is an amazing journey. I love what I do. But I think for me, I had to really work out what it was that I wanted to do, what the conversations were that I wanted to have every day, and who I wanted to work with, who really motivated and inspired me. So that's where it all started.
Very good, incredible. And it reminds me actually quite a bit of my journey, because I discovered I have a passion for like helping others. And I thought, it was hospitality for me, because that's where I accelerated, because it's all about servicing others. And I think when you said, I thought I had to do nursing, the same was for me. Like, I thought this is it. And then after a while actually being in the job, I realized it's not. And then it's a big deal to make the decision and change. And you haven't done it not only once, but several times.
It's a big decision, but it takes a bit of confidence, it takes a bit of guts. But, you know, I think that when you start actually speaking to people, I think the want to do it takes over. And when that becomes greater, you know, than all these fears that you have, that's when it really happens. That's when it really works. So, you know, it's fantastic.
So where do you think your drive comes from to get this confidence to make these decisions?
Oh, do you know what? It's because it's something that I fell into after I quit nursing. It's become a way of life for me almost, you know, to just keep trying new things. And so it hasn't necessarily been easy. It hasn't necessarily been something that, you know, that I would make a conscious decision of. Now it's time to, you know, start new things. It just kind of happens. And, you know, I grew up with a mother who had her own business, and she continuously morphed her business as well. So it was almost part of my life. And that's really what I want to have happen for mothers, you know, when they have that confidence and they can start something for themselves, their kids will grow up with that as well, and their kids will get used to that and that entrepreneurial journey, you know, because I truly believe that is a big part of the future. You know, that's a sustainable world when you can make those decisions yourself. So it wasn't easy for me. It hasn't always been easy for me, that's for sure. And when you say confidence, well, there's not always the confidence there, but I guess I'm just used to doing it. I'm used to helping people do that too.
Yeah. And it is always a bit of a balance between being really confident and almost depressive, right? Or depressed in business, right? It's like you have to keep this balance of completely positive, delusional, and depressed, and then you find this confidence somewhere in between, right?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's where one of the things, I guess, that really helped me along the way was engaging mentors. I think if I hadn't have, when I started this journey, if I hadn't have engaged mentors along the way, I think my journey would probably have been very, very different. You know, you're going to have those days where you doubt yourself and you say, can I really do this? And, you know, those days happen all the time. And you also have those days where you go, well, what am I doing today? You know, how can I get motivated? I'm procrastinating. Am I really, is this really what my calling is? You know, so you have all these sort of days, but I think it's really, and then if you can make a phone call and phone somebody, and they can talk you through it and get you over that hurdle and get you going again. And that's not by any means a sign of weakness. You know, that's a sign of moving forward. I can't explain really what it's like to have a mentor apart from that is what will move you forward faster.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Exactly. I absolutely agree with that. I know, Sabine, that just recently you started a new course, and which basically is was a new mentor for you, who gave you new systems for your own business, and that gave you gave you momentum. So,
yeah.
What do you think when it comes to someone else trying to build a wellness business or any business really? How did that help you to get that momentum?
I am probably the most unstructured person. I don't like structure. I don't like conformity. But that's actually almost the reason to have structure, So I came across Aaron Fletcher, and he and his team are somebody that I work with at the moment and have done for a while now. Now, what I actually learned from that is how important frameworks are. And I've had my course, I have my own course, but I guess the thing is, this taught me to create a framework or a template, almost a fill in the blank template for literally everything that I do, everything that I work with people on. There's a framework for it, and I realize how easy that makes life, how easy that makes business. When you don't need to think about those business things, when you don't need to think about the business side of a business, you can just pick up something, you can hand it over, and you can say, this is what we're going to do today, this is what we're going to achieve, and this is how, and it just makes the business side of business so easy. So I really, truly realised the value of frameworks and the value of structure. But what I actually also really like about structure, and this is what I also learned, is how to create a structure for you that works for you. So it's almost like a structure for the non-structured people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really cool. So what you're saying is that you, let's say you have many people who are listening on this podcast, they have a service-based product. And I would say many probably work by the hour, maybe by the session, and you're a naturopath or an osteopath. So you said you have a course. Do you recommend to build a framework for, instead of having a session-based approach, to actually have a framework which gets you from A to B or something like that?
I think it's very important to have different levels of business. So when you actually work out what it is that you want to do and how you want to do it, it is very important to have various levels. I think it's extremely important to stay in touch with people. I think it's extremely important to have those one-on-one sessions with people, whether they're through consultations or over the phone. However it happens, I think it's extremely important to stay in touch with people. But I also think that if you are on and a lot of people in the health industry, want to help as many people as possible, right? So you can only help a limited number of people if you work with everyone one at a time, day after day, in one-on-one consults. So I think it's actually very important, yes, to keep going with that, or to structure that in a way that, that keeps that side of you satisfied. But I also think it's important that you create a one-to-many model where you can reach people, whether it's in a workshop, whether it's in a group environment, whether it's online, whatever it is, whether it's online training. I think that, the internet has made the world so small. So all these things are possible. And when you start these sort of things, you actually realise that balance and time freedom and, that lifestyle that you want, as well as helping people, as many as you can, as many as you want, it's all possible. So yes, I think you just need to know your model.
Do you have some first...
I think a big part of that, I think that a big part of that is, there's often a lot of blockages like technology, but you can learn that. There's so much information online now, you can learn that. And there's so many people to teach you.
Yeah, I just want to say, or you again, get a mentor who can do this for you, can show you how to do it, so you get these skills quickly instead of spending
That's
months
right.
trying to teach yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do
And
you?
it's not always expensive to engage a mentor. You just need to find the value in who you engage, and then cost is not an issue. Some mentors will give you a certain amount of free sessions, or a month of free online training, or there's different ways, but it doesn't need to be expensive. And if you do a group session, that may not be expensive either. So it's about the value, what value you see in the person that you engage, as to whether you class that as being expensive or not.
So when it comes to getting kind of, it's for me, it's a bit like putting another level onto your business, right? So you have these maybe by the session, one-on-one by the session approach, and then you put a one-to-many kind of level onto this, and you run both parallel, more or less. Do you have some kind of first steps for our listeners to like how to get there? You're in a situation where you have you don't have any one-to-many. What are some first steps to take that to make this happen?
Well, I think the first step is to actually put time aside. One of the difficulties with people that are so used to working one-on-one in consults with people is that it's a real challenge to put time aside for them. So my suggestion would be to reduce those consults, even if it's only a couple of weeks, so that you've got a few hours for yourself to focus on those things. And those things then need to be scheduled into your diary as if they are a consult. And that's probably the biggest thing, is to actually schedule it into your diary. And the way that will happen is if it is a priority for you. So you need to ask yourself, am I prepared to do what it takes to make this happen, to actually do it? And if the answer is yes and you commit, then you can do it. But the commitment needs to be there. But yes, schedule it into the diary. It's the best way to do it.
Yeah. And I think it's what I always think, you can start with as little as 1 hour every fortnight. Some people do 1 day every month.
Yeah.
And you really keep that free. Like, for instance, for me, usually on Thursdays, I keep my diary as free as I can. Usually I have no appointments. I go to a network meeting in the morning, and then the rest of the day I not have any appointments. And I use this time to just work on my business. And that's often my most productive time in the week. Because what I do in that one day, it's sometimes just 4 hours, so it gives me a bit of rest as well. But in those 3 to 4, sometimes 5 hours, I do some really valuable stuff for my business, which after a couple of weeks really come to flourish, and they're super productive.
Yeah. Well, my suggestion would be, though, as well, is to keep that, like, once you build that little bit of momentum, like those 4 hours in that day, is to keep going with that. So if you leave a month in between, you'll forget a lot of what you've done. So try and keep that momentum going. Do little bits all the time. And, I talk a lot about time. And I think that sometimes we use time as an excuse a little bit sometimes. I mean, yes, we're all short of time, but if we need to find time for something, we will find time. Just for example, it was a few months ago that one of my kids was at camp, right? They were outside, a few hours outside of Brisbane at a camp. He was sick. So we had to go and get him. He had a gastro bug. We had to go and get him. Now, that was one afternoon. That was nearly 5 hours out of my time, out of my day. But I found the time. So, if you need to find the time, if it's priority enough, you'll find the time. Mm. So my suggestion would be that once you start, keep that momentum going so that you don't forget where you're at.
Absolutely. I mean, we have this saying in Germany, which says, it's not about having time, it's about making time. And because nobody has time, you can only make time. That's exactly what you're saying. And I just recently talked to a friend of mine here from a local community group, and he said he's busier than ever since he since the day he retired. So,
Yeah.
so we just fill our days, right? And it's just we always keep ourselves busy, and it's just about, as you said, it's about prioritizing, and
Yeah.
how important is what to you, and you will find the time for that.
That's
I
right.
mean, if you think back, during your journey, like what were some, kind of the biggest kind of struggles you had to face, and how did you overcome them?
The biggest struggles I think I had to face were doubt, and yeah, I think I had a lot of fears. I had a fear of public speaking. I had a fear. Sometimes I felt like a phony. Those sort of things. But there was one thing that I did that was amazing that just helped me just advance so much, and that was skydiving. Funnily enough. I had this major fear of heights. I always said, why would you jump out of a perfectly good plane? So I went and did this NLP practitioner's course, and a follow-on from that was actually skydiving and goal setting, and that was absolutely amazing. So it was a 3-day course in Sydney, and we set goals. Right in the middle of setting the goals and how to achieve the goals, we went skydiving. And we went skydiving without any fear and without any adrenaline, and it was all done through visualization. And once I learned the power of visualization, it changed my entire world, because for me, in my mind, it created this fear is in your mind. That's what it taught me, is that fear is in your mind. And yeah, so that was probably one of the most valuable things I've ever done to overcome fear. And it's across the board. So, yeah.
What an amazing advice to everyone out there. If you have trouble with fear, and I'm pretty sure everyone does, go for a skydive. Love that.
I'm not quite sure that if you just go for a skydive without all the visualization that you're going to be able to do that. But if you know how to visualize, great. It's a really, really good thing to do. And I'd go again, easy.
Yeah. It's funny, when I first came to Australia in 2010, I had my first birthday here, and I met Teresa already, my partner in business and life. And she back then used to be a skydiving, tandem flyer. So she has, I think, 1,000 jumps or something like that. So she gave me that present for my birthday. And now that you say that, it kickstarted a lot to me, actually, because I always had a big fear of heights, and yeah, it can change a lot. Quite interesting that
It can. It certainly can.
So, I mean, when it comes to your 3 best tips for growing and giving your business, let's put it this way, giving your business momentum, because that's, I know, is what you're all about.
Yeah.
Your 3 best tips on giving your business momentum, what would they be?
Right. Well, there used to be things like, there used to be time-saving tips like only do 3 things a day, or commit to 3 things a day, and do the thing you don't like first at the beginning of the day, things like that. But I've actually changed it recently, and I've changed it to 3 words, and they are motivation, momentum, and mastery. And the reason why I've changed it to those words is because the motivation it's the foundation of a business. It's working out your why. What is the reason for doing what you do? What do you stand for? So that's what keeps you motivated. That's what keeps you inspired every day. So when you have a bit of a down day, revisit those things. Go and read your vision, read your mission. They need to be inspiring. So that is the foundation of a business, and a lot of businesses skip that. So that's my first one, is the motivation. Find your motivation. The second one is momentum. And everybody, or a lot of people nowadays, understand the value of finding your ideal client or knowing your ideal client. But you actually need to know your ideal client better than what they do. So that is probably my second tip, because if you can know your ideal client better than they do, you have got the best form of communication, and you've got the best chance of building a rapport with a client that you will have for a long time. And the third one is to actually commit and take action. And again, it comes back to that question that I said before: am I willing to do what it takes to make this happen? So commit to those strategies that you know will work to find your clients. And I know they're pretty broad answers, but there is another rule. I'm actually going to break the rule here. I'm going to go for a fourth tip. Sorry, Sebastian. I'm going to go for a fourth tip. And this is probably the most, the one that will stay, that needs to stay in your mind every single day. And that is the rule of one. Do one thing at a time. I work with a lot of mothers in business. Well, all of my clients are mothers in business, and we're known for multitasking. That's what we do. But we also now know that there's been a lot of research to say that multitasking is not necessarily the best thing for you, because, you become a jack of all trades and a master of none. You do a lot of things, but you don't actually focus on one thing and do that one thing well. And when you actually start really focusing on one thing and doing that one thing well, and then moving on to the next one, it changes your every single day. It changes life. So that's probably my top tip now, is the rule of one.
Very good. I love that. Some really great advice. And I especially recently found that, and we actually talked about that a lot, and you helped me with this as well, is really understanding your A clients, your ideal clients, your perfect prospects, and really digging deep, and actually not just guessing what you think what they are about, but really asking them the right questions. What are their problems? What are their wants? What are their fears? What are their dreams? And asking them why. Really digging deep. And recently I just had another discussion with a friend of mine who's a lean startup coach. And he actually says, you want to, when you have a one-on-one and ask someone, your ideal client, to find out more about them, you actually want them to tell a story. You want them to tell a story, and then you don't actually ask the question that gives you the answer that you want, because often if you ask them a too specific question, that will give you the exact answer that you want to hear, not actually how it is. It can sometimes at least be, or often be, different to how it actually is. So that was, I really like that advice that you've given there. And it's so important, because it's the ground.
Very, very, very true. And and it's the conversations. I'll just tell you a little story about what I've done again recently, and that is I went through a stage again, and I do this regularly. I'll make a real point of talking to my ideal clients and just having those conversations with them, just so that I know that I'm still on track. And recently I've done that. I've focused on doing that, and and I've done that over the phone with people, one-on-one on the phone. But I've also joined some Facebook groups and had some amazing conversations with people in Facebook groups, asked specific questions and started a conversation with that. And it is the last few weeks have been incredibly inspiring few weeks, just purely hearing these stories that these women have. And it's almost changed some of the things that I put out there again now. But for me, that's just keeping up with what it is that people need. So I think that is so important. I think it's so important to do it regularly, and it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So actually ask people. Don't ever guess. Go and ask people.
Yeah. And it takes a bit of effort, but it's well worth it. I know, and I had a similar experience. When you have these conversations, you actually get the language, the words that they are using to express their fears and problems and wants. And that makes such a big difference, because if you use that for whatever you do online, let's say building a landing page, because I know you have just recently done that, I have just done that, and I changed mine completely because I realized the benefits I demonstrated on my page. So I was saying, generate more leads with your wellness business. Actually, after interviewing a few people, I realized none of the people I talked to ever used the word lead, right? So it's not it's maybe what they want. And everyone, when I explained it to them, they said, yeah, that's what I want. But it's not how they express this want. And it's not how they express the problem. So you don't get the connection with them.
That's right.
It's very important. And I think that's what you have done with your online presence as well.
Yeah, I have. I've and yes, even in the last couple of weeks, I've changed a lot of things online purely based on what people have said, on the language, on the actual specific words.
Yeah.
And you can't guess that. You cannot guess that.
Exactly, you can't. Well, Sabine, thank you so much for this incredible insight. It was just fun talking to you.
It was.
And, digging also a bit deeper into where your passion comes from, and the insight you've given is great, because we all need momentum in our business. We all need to find ways in how we can keep it up, and we need to know where to start. And you covered this all today, so thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
If you would like to find out more about what Sabine does, head to her website on www.mothersofmomentum.com. Her website link along with her social links are in the show notes, so check them out. Don't forget to subscribe to the Influential Wellnesspreneur podcast so you don't miss an episode, and get involved in our social community. Those social links are in the show notes too. We look forward to seeing you guys next week as we interview our next inspiring wellnesspreneur. Until then, have fun.